Yo, what's up everybody? It's Tech Video Videos, and we're back again with another camera comparison. Now, when it comes to high-end mirrorless cameras, the Sony Alpha 1 is often seen as the one to beat. It's got the speed, the resolution, the versatility, it's a beast. But you know the game, there's always competition. And in the world of full-frame mirrorless, the Canon EOS R5 and the Nikon Z9 are stepping up to the plate, swinging for the fences. So, in this video, we're going to break down these three titans, see how they stack up against each other, and figure out which one might be the right fit for your specific needs. We'll dive deep into the specs, the features, and of course the image and video quality to see which one comes out on top. Is the Sony Alpha 1 still the king, or will the Canon EOS R5 or Nikon Z9 dethrone the champ? Stick around to find out. Alright, first up, we gotta give the reigning champ its due, the Sony Alpha 1. This is Sony's flagship camera, and they really went all out with this one. I mean, they packed it with features that any pro would drool over. First off, we gotta talk about that resolution. 50.1 megapixels. That's right, 50.1 megapixels of pure imaging power. Whether you're shooting landscapes, portraits, or anything in between, you're gonna have more than enough detail to work with. And the crazy part is, it can shoot these high-res images at up to 30 frames per second. 30 frames per second, that's insane! For context, most cameras struggle to hit 10 frames per second at this resolution. But Sony didn't stop there. They also threw in 8K video recording at up to 30 frames per second. Now, 8K might seem like overkill for most people, but for professionals who need the absolute best in terms of resolution and flexibility in post-production, it's a game changer. And the video features don't end there. The Alpha 1 also has Sony's renowned real-time tracking in IAF, which means your subject will be tack sharp even when they're moving around. Trust me, this autofocus system is no joke. It's scary good at locking on and keeping up. But it's not all sunshine and rainbows with the Alpha 1. One of the biggest drawbacks is the price. This camera ain't cheap. It's definitely an investment. And for some, it might be out of reach. Another thing to consider is the 8K video limitations. While it can technically shoot in 8K, there are some caveats. The recording time is limited, and it can get pretty hot when you're pushing it to its limits. And speaking of limitations, the battery life on the Alpha 1 isn't anything to write home about. It's not terrible, but it's definitely something to keep in mind, especially if you're planning on shooting all day. But even with those minor drawbacks, the Sony Alpha 1 is still an incredible camera. It's a powerhouse that can handle pretty much anything you throw at it. So, if you're a professional who needs the best of the best, and you're willing to pay for it, the Alpha 1 is definitely worth considering. Now, let's move on to the Canon EOS R5 and see how it stacks up against this beast. Alright, next up we have the Canon EOS R5. Now, this camera made a lot of noise when it first came out, and for good reason. It was one of the first cameras to offer 8K video recording, and it did it at a more affordable price point than the Sony Alpha 1. But does it have what it takes to dethrone the champ? Let's find out. One of the standout features of the EOS R5 is its 45 megapixel full-frame sensor. This sensor is capable of capturing incredible detail and dynamic range, making it a great option for landscape, portrait, and even commercial photographers. And just like the Alpha 1, it can shoot at some pretty impressive speeds. We're talking up to 20 frames per second with the electronic shutter, which is still incredibly fast, even if it doesn't quite match the Alpha 1's 30. But where the EOS R5 really shines is in its video capabilities. It can shoot 8K video at up to 30 frames per second. And it even offers internal RAW recording for the ultimate in flexibility in post-production. And unlike some other cameras that struggle with overheating when shooting 8K, the EOS R5 has a built-in fan to help keep things cool. But, and this is a big but, there are some limitations, the biggest one being the recording time limits. Canon put these limits in place to prevent overheating, but it does mean that you'll have to be strategic about when you hit that record button. Another thing to consider is the price-to-performance ratio. While the EOS R5 is cheaper than the Alpha 1, it's not exactly a budget camera. And when you compare the specs and features side by side, the Alpha 1 does offer more for the money. But despite these drawbacks, the Canon EOS R5 is still a fantastic camera. It's got a great sensor, impressive video capabilities, and a user-friendly interface that makes it a joy to shoot with. If you're a hybrid shooter who needs both high-resolution photos and 8K video, the EOS R5 is definitely worth a look. Now, let's move on to our final contender, the Nikon Z9. Chapter 3. Nikon Z9, the new kid on the block. Last but not least, we have the Nikon Z9. This is Nikon's flagship mirrorless camera, and it's clear that they came to play. The Z9 is packed with features that are designed to appeal to professional photographers and videographers. And it's clear that Nikon is taking the mirrorless market very seriously with this release. One of the most notable features of the Z9 is its completely redesigned sensor. This 45.7 megapixel full-frame sensor is designed for speed and performance, and it delivers in spades. The Z9 can shoot at a blistering 12 frames per second with full autofocus and auto exposure, and it can even hit an incredible 120 frames per second at a reduced resolution. And we can't forget about the video capabilities. The Z9 can shoot 8K video at up to 60 frames per second, and it even offers internal ProRes RAW recording for the ultimate in flexibility. But what really sets the Z9 apart is its innovative shutter design. Nikon has completely ditched the mechanical shutter in the Z9, opting instead for a fully electronic shutter. This means that there's no shutter slap, no blackout, and no limits on how fast you can shoot. Now, some photographers might be hesitant about a camera with no mechanical shutter, but Nikon has gone to great lengths to ensure that the Z9's electronic shutter is up to the task. They've implemented a new dual-stream readout technology that helps to minimize rolling shutter effects, and the results are impressive, to say the least. But the Z9 isn't without its drawbacks. One of the biggest ones is the size and weight. This is a big camera, especially compared to the Sony Alpha 1 and the Canon EOS R5. It's also not the most ergonomic camera out there, and some users might find the grip to be a bit too small. Another thing to consider is the price. The Z9 is expensive. It's even more expensive than the Sony Alpha 1, which is saying something. But if you're a professional who needs the absolute best in terms of speed, performance, and video capabilities, the Nikon Z9 is definitely worth considering. It's a truly groundbreaking camera that pushes the boundaries of what's possible with mirrorless technology. Alright, so we've taken a look at 3 of the best mirrorless cameras on the market: the Sony Alpha 1, the Canon EOS R5, and the Nikon Z9. Each camera brings its own strengths to the table, making it tough to declare a clear winner. The Sony Alpha 1 excels in versatility, offering top-tier performance for both photographers and videographers. Its high resolution and blazing fast shooting speeds make it a true hybrid powerhouse. However, its high price and battery limitations may deter some users. The Canon EOS R5 is a close competitor with a slightly lower price tag and user-friendly features, making it a great option for those stepping up to professional-grade gear. But its overheating issues, while manageable, are a significant drawback for extended video work. The Nikon Z9 stands out for its rugged build, efficient video capabilities, and innovative shutterless design, making it ideal for sports and wildlife photographers. However, it sacrifices portability with its larger size and weight. In the end, your choice will depend on your specific needs, whether it's resolution, speed, video capability, or ergonomics. Consider what features are most important to you and your workflow to make the best decision for your photography or videography journey.